You open a video about productivity. You save a new routine. You buy a notebook. You organize your desk. You rename the folder on your computer. You decide that now, finally, you're going to start. For a few hours, it feels like your life has changed. But nothing has changed yet. Only the feeling has changed. And maybe that is where many ambitious people get stuck. Not exactly in laziness, but in the psychological pleasure of imagining a new version of themselves. The beginning is addictive because it does not demand results yet. It does not show limits. It does not expose flaws. It does not destroy the fantasy. In the beginning, you can still be everything. Talented, disciplined, promising, different from everyone else. But when the process truly begins, the fantasy loses control of the story. The first attempt turns out worse than you imagined. Progress takes time. The routine becomes boring. No one notices. And that brilliant version that existed in your mind has to face something ordinary, simple, and almost offensive to the ego. It will also have to learn the basics. Maybe that is why some people do not procrastinate because they are uninterested. They procrastinate because they still want to protect one sentence. I could do it if I really tried. As long as you do not truly try, that sentence stays alive. It works like a shelter, a place where your potential is never tested, where your talent never fails, where your intelligence never needs to become results, where you never have to find out whether you were actually good or only liked the idea of being good. In that sense, procrastination does not protect you from the work. It protects you from the proof. Because starting is dangerous. Starting turns fantasy into evidence. Before you start, everything is still possible. After you start, something appears in front of you, reality. And reality is much less gentle than imagination. In your imagination, you are already at the end. You already have the body, the money, the project, the channel, the book, the career, the new life. In reality, you are sitting in front of a bad first version, a short workout, a weak page, a clumsy attempt, a routine that does not feel cinematic. That is why so many ambitious people live stuck in almost started, almost changed, almost launched, almost finished, almost became someone else. Almost is comfortable because it keeps your identity intact. You can still see yourself as someone with great potential. You just have not had to confront the price of that potential. And here comes one of the most interesting parts of the mind. Many people are not addicted to success. They are addicted to the emotion of starting over. Starting over gives you a rush of hope. You feel like you have closed a cycle, like now you are more mature, like this time will be different. Monday feels like a door. A new month feels like a rebirth. A new notebook feels like a new personality. The perfect routine feels like a promise of control. But that emotion does not last long. After a few days, the process loses its shine. The novelty disappears. The brain stops receiving that feeling of, now it's really happening. And all that is left is the task. No background music, no applause, no visible transformation, just repetition. This is where many people quit, not because the goal has lost importance, but because the emotion of the beginning is gone. The person did not only want to change, they wanted to feel like they were changing. And there is a huge difference between the two. Feeling like you are changing can happen in one night. Truly changing requires weeks, months, sometimes years of small actions that no one sees. Motivation works like a trailer. It shows the best scenes. Discipline is the whole movie, and the whole movie has slow parts. It has ordinary scenes. It has boring days. It has effort without immediate reward. It has moments when nothing seems to be happening. The ambitious but procrastinating person usually loves the trailer and abandons the movie. They like the vision, the promise, the identity of someone who is about to change, but they struggle with the real part of change, continuing when it no longer feels exciting. And maybe this is what we call laziness, but under another name, not an absence of desire, but a low tolerance for reality, because reality is slow, imperfect, repetitive. It does not care about the image you have of yourself. It does not ask whether you have potential. It asks whether you showed up today. Reality asks whether you can do a simple task without turning it into an identity crisis. It asks whether you accept being a beginner. It asks whether you can finish something that did not turn out brilliant. It asks whether you can keep going without being sure it will work. And for many people, that hurts. It is not the effort itself that scares them. It is the kind of effort that does not match the fantasy. In the fantasy, the process looks elegant. In practice, it is kind of ugly. You do not understand. You make mistakes. You waste time. You get distracted. You come back. You realize you do not know as much as you thought. You discover that talent without repetition is only a possibility standing still. And the ambitious mind hates that moment because it breaks a very comfortable illusion. The illusion that you would naturally be above average if you finally started. Maybe you are good. Maybe you have talent. Maybe you are intelligent. But none of that eliminates the basics. None of that eliminates the bad phase. None of that places you above repetition. And this is where discipline becomes a kind of grief. The grief of the special version. The version that thought it would not need to go through the ordinary. The version that imagined a more beautiful beginning. The version that believed that, when it finally took action, everything would flow with ease. Discipline requires burying that version. Not because you are incapable, but because building something real requires you to stop protecting an idealized image of yourself. You need to accept that maybe your first video will be bad. Your first page will be weak. Your first workout will be short. Your first business will be confusing. Your first attempt proves nothing except one thing. You started, and that seems like little to the ego, but it is a lot in real life. Because real life does not change through imagined identities. It changes through evidence. Evidence is when you said you would do something and did it, even if it was small, even if you did not feel like it, even if it did not seem special, even if you did not post it, even if you told no one. That is the kind of thing that rebuilds real self-esteem, not the fragile self-esteem based on I could, but a more adult self-esteem based on I did. The sentence, I could do it if I tried, seems to protect you. But over time, it becomes a prison, because you begin to live inside a potential that never becomes experience. And potential without experience starts to weigh on you. It becomes shame. It becomes comparison. It becomes irritation with people who are moving forward. It becomes that strange feeling of wasting something, not because you lack ability, but because unused ability starts turning into guilt. The way out is not to create another perfect plan. In fact, that may be the same old trick. Another plan, another routine, another method, another promise, another ideal version. Sometimes, the way out is almost disappointingly simple. Choose an action small enough that it does not become theater, an action that does not feed the fantasy, an action that puts you face to face with reality. Open the file, record a bad version, read a few pages, work out for 15 minutes, organize one part, send a message, do the real minimum. The ambitious mind usually despises the minimum. It thinks it is too small, too silly, too slow. But it is precisely because it despises the minimum that it remains trapped in the imaginary. The minimum is humiliating for the fantasy, but it is liberating for reality, because the minimum can be repeated, and what can be repeated begins to become structure. Structure is more reliable than motivation. Motivation depends on your internal climate. Structure depends on an external decision, a time, a limit, an environment, a simple ritual, a small goal, a possible commitment. The person who only acts when they feel ready hands their own life over to an unstable emotional state. The person who creates structure begins to act even when their emotional state does not cooperate. That does not mean becoming a machine. It means no longer treating every mood swing as an order. You can have no desire and still do a little. You can be insecure and still begin. You can be afraid and still take a step. You can be far from the ideal version and still build evidence. Now, here's the point that changes everything. Procrastinating people usually treat a small failure as total abandonment. Missing one day turns into losing the week. Losing the week turns into waiting for next month. Making one mistake turns into proof that I have no discipline. But I will tell you how this can be different, by giving an example of someone who changed that expected ending. This person started a project, worked out for 3 days, then gave up for an entire week. When they came back, instead of creating a new plan, instead of buying a new notebook, instead of waiting for Monday or a new month, they simply continued. They opened the file where they had stopped, did the workout again, no ceremony, no drama, without telling anyone, without turning the return into a cinematic fresh start. They just came back. And that small difference on continuing without starting over was what changed their trajectory. Because real discipline is not never leaving the path, it is coming back faster. The immature person waits for a new emotional phase. The more mature person comes back the next day without making a drama out of the fall. That changes everything. Because the problem is rarely one failure. The problem is the story you tell after it. I failed, so it's over. I failed, so this is who I am. I failed, so I need to start everything over from scratch. You do not. Sometimes, you only need to continue from where you stopped. No ceremony, no new identity, no new notebook, no new speech. Just come back. This may be the antidote to the emotional addiction to starting over. Learning to continue without needing to feel like you are starting over. Continuing is less glamorous, but it is much more powerful. Because starting over gives you a feeling, continuing gives you results. And results, once they start to appear, change the person's relationship with themselves. They stop needing to prove they have potential, because they begin to have evidence of construction. Small, but real. Little by little, self-esteem changes place. It leaves fantasy and enters behavior. And when that happens, ambition becomes less theatrical, less anxious, less dependent on emotion. It becomes direction, not a big scene, a direction. You do not need to wake up feeling extraordinary. You do not need to wait for a perfect version of yourself to appear. You do not need to feel that now everything is going to change. You only need to stop eternally protecting the person you could be and begin to test, through small actions, who you can still become. Maybe the problem was never a lack of ambition. Maybe it was too much attachment to the version of you that has not yet had to face the basics. But real life begins exactly there, in the basics, in the small, in the imperfect, in the moment when you stop using potential as a hiding place and begin to turn desire into evidence. If this video made you think of some project you keep postponing, leave in the comments which part affected you the most. And if you like understanding the hidden patterns of the mind, behavior, and human emotions, subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes what we call laziness is only a sophisticated way of protecting a fantasy. But real life begins when you stop preserving who you could be and start building who you can still become.